Everybody, welcome to Raising Vibrations here with Simon today. And this is a short video on the up and coming full moon that's happening tomorrow. That is the 22nd or 23rd, 22nd of April 2016. And it's not a bad energy, to be honest. I must admit, up until this point in time, some of the full moons have been really, really intense, and I've most certainly myself had to clear out a lot of my own personal energetic debris or whatever unresolved emotional realities have been present. And I know that the new moon that was taking place on the 7th of April, when we had the new moon in Aries and Pluto was making that interesting square to the sun. I remember the sun was in Aries at that point in time, of course, and the moon was there as well. We had a lot of stuff come up for us and deal with a lot of energy that kind of fractured and shook the inner nature of our psychological states, and we had a lot of energetic clearing to go. Whereas I feel that this full moon that's taking place for us right now has a lot more potential for us to embody growth in a way that has probably not been experienced for quite some time. For me personally, I think, and as I feel into this energy as well, the last time something that was this energetically inspiring and giving us potential for growth was when we had the new and full moons taking place in 2014. In particular, I'm trying to think back to an exact full moon that I'm reminding myself of, maybe 2014, when there was a full moon in Pisces. And those periods of time is what I'm really referring to here, and that energetic vibration where there was this, there was a lot of chaos going on because, of course, Pluto was still pre 15 degrees, and so we were very unsure about how our reality and why our reality was changing for us at that stage. But I think we've become increasingly better at processing the nature of what is actually taking place for us right now, and actually seeing how the abyss that took place for us in 2012 and 2013, 2014, most of that energy has now become sort of in some way, shape or form subdued, and we're like, okay, cool, we're dealing with some massive changes over here. The world and the internet has exploded, and there's just an abundance of people's personalities and perspectives, and everything's just going around, and we have great opportunities for new growth and new potential. So this full moon itself, to me, reflects this capacity for us to really dig deep into the psychological relationship that we have to ourselves, and look at how our core belief systems are promoting, or in some way, shape or form, giving us a way of seeing reality, but that belief system in itself may be offering a slight limitation, or any form of limitation for that matter. Now, of course, there are exceptions to the rule here. So, for those of you that are watching this video and you feel like your philosophy and belief system gives you great joy and abundance and excitement, that's fantastic. And really, this kind of shift or this energy, this new moon will probably just pass through, and you'll have a new way of manifesting yourself in going forward. But for those of us who are looking at still dealing with inner soul growth work, this is a big deal. And I think that especially because Mars and Jupiter are conjunct each other in, not Mars and Jupiter, Mars and Saturn are conjunct each other in Sagittarius. And they both retrograde as well. They're actually making and forming a square towards, so Mars is forming a square towards Neptune, which of course is in Pisces, and Saturn is making a square towards Chiron, and of course is making a square to the nodal axis, which is all in the South Node, is all in Pisces there. And then you have the North Node with Jupiter on top of it, and the North Node also in Virgo. So Saturn and Mars also square the other side of it, right? Because Pisces and Virgo are polarity. So you have this interesting dynamic of this T-square that's manifesting itself. And of course, it's in Sagittarius, Pisces, and Virgo. So what type of belief system do you use that allows you to look at your reality and process it? How do you justify your reality? How do you look at your points of views and perspectives and ways of seeing things and what your core beliefs, and how does that like cosmological overlay answer all the questions you seek about what reality is? Maybe to make it more personal, you could look at the types of astrologers you maybe watch. You could look at the types of literature that you read and ask yourself, how does that cosmology or paradigm give you the answers that you seek when you are in some way, shape, or form searching for something that you want to know the answer to? So if you had to observe that and say, okay, I use 13 sign astrology to answer the questions in life and sidereal astrology, then that will give you a certain perspective on reality, that will give you the ability to justify and process how you go about things, and that's how your soul will understand it. What happens now when you're somebody that uses 12 sign astrology to understand the nature of reality? So those two paradigms and their cosmological philosophies will give you certain directions that you're seeking or that you're moving into. And of course, the way that that framework gives you those answers will dictate how you see. So if you had to observe the world right now, you would know that many of us look at reality from that point of view, i.e. our personal perspective and our personal truths of what we perceive reality to be. And we inherently look at the limitations that other people have in relationship to our own. And we usually create confrontation because we seek to, the word is convince or the words are convince and convert people to believe what we need to believe in order for us to feel safe and secure regarding what our truth is. Now, again, not like all of us subscribe to that, but in some way, shape, or form, if you were challenged with a certain percentage of your security and of your value systems, you would defend it with a belief system. And we all do this to a certain degree because of the underlying reality of the situation. It is what gives us a connection and a groundedness towards whatever this place is that we're evolving in through. So this context of core philosophy and belief is really being, or has a great deal of reality attached to it. There's a lot of reality. Saturn is reality. Saturn is where we grow and mature through emotional integration, and it's retrograde as well as Mars. So you'll probably find yourself, looking at your life and maybe feeling a little bit deflated regarding actions that you would want to take. Yet at the same time, it's a great opportunity actually to dig deep into the feelings that you have about what you desire and how do you go about actualizing that desire, and what is your purpose, or how do you feel like you can integrate yourself into the world or integrate yourself into life, and really look at those core beliefs and perspectives. Okay, so it's like a cleansing process. And then of course you've got this beautiful Earth trine that is manifesting itself with Mercury in Taurus, and of course Jupiter in Virgo and Pluto in Capricorn. And the sun is going to be through this month bringing itself closer and closer to these symbols. So we will be having a massive Earth trine manifest for us for this month. And that's a big deal because, the Earth trine energy is incredibly magical when you understand it in its natural form. Now, for most of us on Earth, the Earth element in itself is a very important factor for us, especially when it comes to the nature of our survival, as we have constructed a reality that depends on these Earth elements. So direction, as an example, is a Capricorn function. Virgo is the nature of the specific steps and routines and our sense of daily activities that allow us to achieve or go about achieving that aim or that direction that we seek. And then of course Taurus in itself gives us that groundedness, like what are my values, why do I physically need these things, and how do I add my sense of personal worth to the situation. In particular, if you look in the description below, there's actually a video that will describe to you what the Earth trine is. There's a specific video that I've created, so check that out. I go into a lot more elaboration as to what it is. But this Earth trine in itself gives us this capacity for three major things for me personally. I think that in order to anchor this energy, you need to recognize that it's about slowing down. Earth energy is very much about taking things very slowly, maturing them, allowing them to develop over time that gives you a strong footing. And I think that this is key for this energy at this stage. How do I maintain a sense of groundedness in my life and feel secure and stable with the stuff under me, i.e. ground rootedness and in my actions, in my belief systems, in my core understandings of what the world is, so that I can actually grow, so that I can actually actualize myself. If those fundamental sort of frameworks and foundations are not developed within yourself, or you have a relationship towards it in some way, shape, or form, then you're going to find yourself like really struggling to not only make decisions in life, but probably also feel the need to actualize yourself because maybe your level of competence isn't as high as you would like it to be in relationship to what you want to achieve as a Virgo energy. Your natural state of abundance that you can use to move energy and create more distance between time. Again, this is a fascinating discussion to actually have, to be honest. When you think about time in itself, its boundaries, and then the relationship towards time from your point of view, that distance is the space that allows creativity to manifest itself. And so if you have very limited capacity for abundance or having abundance, or your capacity towards expansion is very limited because of your ability to have abundance in your life, of course, then those time barriers are very constricted around you. So as a natural rule of thumb, when it comes to abundance, you would want to obviously do as much as possible regarding energy creation, but also put a energy band around what you do as a way to create more space to develop more of that creativity, or have more space to develop more creativity. So very simply put, if you are somebody that spends 3 hours working on something that means a lot to you, it's really, really silly to be able to value that work or that time as something that is limited or shorter than how long it took you. So if it took you 3 hours, then you need to validate that as something that took you 3 hours or more, so that that time that you spend using that is obviously then equally balanced on the other side. It's a very awesome concept to understand when it comes to self-worth and deep self-love. And you know, the planet in itself has got deep psychological programming regarding inability to feel that you're allowed to have self-love and self-acceptance. And there's many people out there that will have programs in your psyche that will tell you that it's not okay, especially in a spiritual community where it's not understood as self-love and self-acceptance and an appreciation for your life in itself has all got to do with the amount of abundance that you're able to give. So it's a very controversial subject, and I think that if we are to be emotionally honest with the situation, we shouldn't even be entertaining disempowering thoughts just because our opinions needs to be right. So that's another way of actually understanding this Earth trine in itself. It is about emotional integration, and it is about the nature of how do we develop our relationship to ourselves in a deeply self-love orientated way. It's probably one of the most difficult challenges we face as a human race on the planet today is the sense of self-love that we can give ourselves. How much, when do you make choices that you know that when the feedback loop comes back to you, are you able to actually rejoice in the positivity or the sense of accomplishment or whatever it is that defines that for you, so that you have then energy to recreate again, creating constant loops of experiences that expands your consciousness. So the Earth trine stability, slow down, look at your feeting under your ground, your foundation. Is it stable? Does it give you opportunities for growing? Okay. So that's the message for you today regarding this full moon. I just wanted to let you know tonight, which is the 21st of April, in the description below, there's actually a link to it. There's a webinar that I'm hosting. It's $15 and it's an hour and a half where I talk about this in a greater depth. And then also there's lots of questions and answers that you can ask as well. So in the description below is an actual link to that webinar. And I will have this, of course, happening every single month. And also to let you know that on Sunday is a workshop called Mars and Pluto, and it's a retrograde. And the purpose here is to give you the information of how to actually actualize these two symbols. So again, in the description will be that information, all right? Other than that, guys, have a fantastic full moon experience, and I will speak to you really soon. Bye.